Hi, I'm David Holt, host of Great Scenic Railway Journeys, and I'm here with the show's creator and producer, Rob Van Camp. And we're here at the North Carolina Transportation Museum at the historic Spencer Shops. It's just a great place to be. They have wonderful equipment. We love working here, don't we?
We film many shows here, David and I, from Australia, New Zealand, even our current special on our anniversary special. I always love coming to Spencer Shops. You know, this is the largest roundhouse in existence in North America, and as you can see by all this beautiful equipment we filmed over the years, it's a great platform for the show.
And it's close to our homes.
Yes, it is. It is indeed, yes.
Now, how did you get involved in filming trains early on?
Well, I was a news photographer for a CBS affiliate in North Carolina, and it was a very slow news day, and they sent me off to do a feature piece on the Yadkin Valley Railroad, and I'll never forget it. You know, this was back in 1990, and one guy was a barber, one guy was a mechanic, and one guy was a Mount Airy cop, and they all loved trains growing up. And when these positions opened up, they all applied, and they got the jobs. So to tell their story, you know, a barber who's running a train, and a cop and a mechanic, it was just a great feature piece. And you know, back in the days, and even today, you know, news pieces are very short. You know, a minute and a half. They gave me 4 minutes when it was all said and done to tell a great story, and that kind of got me thinking. You know, I don't really want to do news stuff anymore. I really want to tell more in-depth stories. More documentary type style programming, because it really tells the whole story. It's not just something splash and dash, as we call it in news.
So then how did you start Great Scenic Railway Journeys? How did that show get going?
Well, doing 4 minutes, as you know, is a lifetime in news. I approached UNC-TV, our local public television. I showed them some of my work, and I said, I want to do a documentary on the Great Smoky Mountain Railroad. It had just started up, as you know, back in 1988. It was fairly new, and we got Roy Neal. He was a retired NBC reporter, great voice, and he had voiced some of the documentaries over the years for me. He wanted to host the first show, and so we went up the Great Smoky Mountain Railroad, filmed up there for a couple of days. You know what it's like filming on location, and he was 82 years old when we did our very first show. And we did it on the Great Smoky Mountain Railroad, and from there, I'll never forget it. After we did that show, one of the other owners of another railroad up in West Virginia called and said, we heard what you did down there, will you do one for us? And we did one on the Potomac Eagle, the Cass Scenic Railroad, and the documentaries, and that's how our half-hour series began.
So you probably didn't realize, like I didn't, that there is a vast group of people who love trains and know a lot about it.
I was amazed when I got into this industry of how important the railroads played in developing our country, and this equipment all around us, you know, logging millions and millions of road miles, as they call them, on our railroads, and building our country and our commerce, and it's just
But I think that the fan just loves the fact that these things are almost alive. All these trains, they're mechanical objects, but they just have a personality, each and every one of them.
They all have a personality, especially a steam engine. I'll never forget a quote from the Conway Scenic Railroad. The director of operations, his name is Paul, and he goes, you know, a steam engine is the closest thing to a human being. It drinks water, it eats coal, and it dumps ash. And it was a funny soundbite, and I'll never forget that. But the people are very, very passionate about these tourist railroads and preserving all of this equipment as you see around us. It's just something. I'm surprised, or I'm more amazed that I'm still doing this 25 years later. You know, you and I have worked on other shows on the Blue Ridge Parkway and our Outer Banks, and you know, but the trains have always been the mainstay for us.
Is that how I got this job of being a host of the show, from working the other shows?
You remember the Blue Ridge Parkway?
Oh yeah, it was
you were up there on the Blue Ridge Parkway. We shot that in 1998, and David came on in our very first show in 1999 on the West, Great Scenic Railroad Journey to the West. We filmed out in the California State Railroad Museum.
That was a beautiful museum, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We should mention all the fantastic museums we've used, because people may not realize how we shoot the show. You go out and shoot all the trains themselves. You crawl all over the trains, get some amazing shots.
Yes.
What's your favorite part of the train?
Well, you know, looking back over the years of filming, you know, you're right, I would climb all over. I was on cabooses in the front of the engines. But to me, it's always the footplate of that locomotive. To stand out on the front, be the first to see everything, has always been the greatest joy for me, because you get advantages that nobody else gets to see, not even the engineer, because you are on the very front of that engine. And I mean, I remember crossing Frankenstein Trestle up on Conway Scenic Railroad, and I mean, I got a view that nobody else gets, and I just had to keep looking up as I was filming. You know, usually I keep my eye into the viewfinder, but I had to take it in as well.
I remember when we did that one of the Great Smokies where I was standing on the front. That was kind of a scary feeling because it was going across a trestle and you were on the other side and that train was moving across and I was standing on this little plate in the front. Pretty exciting.
But I mean, you got to admit that it's just a feeling like no other.
It's great. Now, while you were filming, did you ever have any close calls?
Well, my mother always was worried about me filming. She goes, "How did you get that shot? How did you climb up on that moving train?" You know, one of my other favorite spots is always on the top of a caboose. And you just get to see that train going and meandering up the mountainsides of the Cass Scenic Railroad just to see those Shea locomotives going up an 11% grade, and I'm in the back watching it. Is just unbelievable. But I was at the Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad, and I'll never forget this. My spotter, who was behind me, was filming, was supposed to be looking ahead to tell me if there are any objects coming.
Oh my goodness.
And you know, you're looking through that little black and white viewfinder, and a big branch came right under the camera and just took me and the camera back, and I fell flat on the back of that caboose, and then I fell over to the left, and I thought I was about to fall over and fall off it, and I just kind of closed my eyes and just, because I was afraid, I wasn't really sure, and thank God I did not fall off the top of that caboose.
And your camera didn't go either?
My camera didn't go either, but it's a tremendous shot because the camera was still rolling.
Oh gosh, that's incredible. Yeah, we go to, I don't think people realize how hard it is to get some of these shots. I'm thinking of the Durango Silverton trip that we did, and they took us up there way up in the mountains. Now it's like a 400-foot just cliff off to the river, the Animas River, and they put us off there to get this shot, and you got the camera set up and we were waiting for a train to come. Now you only get one chance to do that. It's got to be perfect. You got to say all the words without making a mistake. Oh man.
And then you have to do your part, I have to do my part, and we have to come together. But you know, that was like those two shots, that show open and show close, were one take onlys. I mean, and you nailed it, I nailed it.
I know, I'm just so happy.
And you know, but to be out in the middle of nowhere and to film something like that, I remember that stand-up where you were walking on the track and that sheer cliff way above you, you know, and how they hand dug that section out. You know, we've been pretty lucky. We've gotten to go to some really great locations and tell America's history. From the steam railroads, you know, the Pullman rail journeys. That was, you know, for us to be on those elegant trains, those Streamliner 1950 years, great food, and you know, trains just seem to relax people. I think that's one thing. A lot of people ask me about it. I go, you know, it's like a decompression. You know, when I'm filming people and they're just in their own little world, looking out that window, they just tell me it's just therapy to them to get away from the crazy world we live in.
That's right. Yeah. And the other thing about the trains that I really love is you get to see stuff that you don't get to see any other way because you're going through countryside that doesn't have any roads. Just the train tracks. And so it's just some gorgeous American countryside.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing you remember filming up in the Durbin and Greenbrier Valley Railroad. You know, going along the river there, the Greenbrier River, you know, there's nothing there. There's an old 1800 schoolhouse, that wood schoolhouse, I remember that there.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
But, you know, that was just some pristine area to be able to go back on those steam logging locomotives. You know, you and I filmed it all. I mean, I remember the Cafe Lafayette dinner train. It was the only time you took your hat off to do an on-camera stand-up. I go, "David, you're taking your hat off." He goes, "Yeah, because this is 5-star food, and they served you that food, and there you were."
Too.
That was the only time you've taken your hat off, David.
I'm happy to take my hat off.
Yeah, I know.
Now you have started preserving cars and trains on your own. Tell us about some of that.
Well, you know, interesting, you know, we're all a product of our environment. I truly believe that. And, you know, for 25 years, when you go around and tell the story of the passion behind the people that work here at Spencer Shops and do all the great things they do to restore this equipment, I had an opportunity in 2009 to save 2 cars. And they were out of the Texas Special. And I didn't realize how special they really were to find 2 rail cars that were built to be in the same consist. They used to go from Chicago to Texas and back.
What was in them?
They're passenger cars.
Oh, passenger cars.
And so I started restoring those.
You yourself? I mean, getting out there? Really?
Well, I had obviously had some help to do it, but you know, it's a much bigger laborious task than I thought. Yeah, I was like, oh, these are nothing. This is like a car. No, these are 1955 year, trying to find parts and all that. But to find the people that do it, they love it. They love the passion. When they get back, like this caboose over your shoulder, I mean, when this thing was painted, I mean, to get this thing out of here, the engines around us, it's just magical when you're able to do that. But I'm proud to say I'm part of history here at Spencer as well, where Great Scenic Railroad Journeys purchased a steam engine here that originally ran in West Virginia, the Buffalo Creek and Gully number 4. And that was their first steam engine here. And a lot of the museums around the country, what they're doing is they're trying to get back to their roots. So they're trying to keep to the roots of Southern Railway and Atlantic Coast Line and others. So this engine had an opportunity to go back to West Virginia. And I was able to be a part of making sure that happened, and I'm looking forward to the restoration of that. It's up at the cast shops. They're going to be working on that in the next year or so, and we're hoping to see that run between Durban and Cass.
When might that be?
Yeah, hopefully in 2018 we'll be able to see that happen.
Wow.
And whatnot. But you know, when you sit there and work on an engine for so many years and you see it come out of that roundhouse, I'll never forget that soundbite. You may have remembered up there at the Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad, we had that guy was in there working on it. He said, it's like watching your child walk for the first time. And he said after 2 years of working on the steam engine and getting it out and running it, it was just an emotional experience. And I think throughout the series, you've seen that where people get emotional about this equipment. I mean, it's a piece of steel, but people, to them, it's like their children.
Well, a lot of people understand the value of it and the power of it and how it made America what it is, really. Let's talk about some of the people, because the volunteers and the people who make these trains work, the scenic trains, are really important, and they're great folks.
You know, this industry would not be alive today if it wasn't for the volunteers.
No, there's no way.
Most of the organizations are volunteer-based or nonprofits. The Friends of the Cumbrians and Toltec Scenic Railroad, I enjoyed filming their segment. You know, these people, there are over 2,700 members from around the world, as far away as Australia. They come and they do work camps to restore all of that original historic equipment that's original to that line. And they're rebuilding cars, they're working on buildings, everything that they need to do to preserve the Cumbrians and Toltec Scenic Railroad. It's just amazing to tell their stories. And, you know, and I think that's why I've gotten involved. I mean, my last purchase was a caboose like the one over your shoulder. It's a C&O 1968.
Where do you keep them?
Well, it's up in West Virginia, and you know, and our goal is to get this equipment, get them, all of them restored, and get them out in the line. What we want to do is tell the heritage. So the Texas special cars are going to be painted back in their original livery colors, and inside people are going to walk in and see historical photos and know what history they're riding in. We're currently restoring a New York Central car. It's a round-ended observation. It was that tail-end car where people would go and relax and have their drinks. Unfortunately, back in that time, they smoked a lot, you know, and they had actually smoking rooms, and they had special vents in the car that would take the smoke out. So, you know, I think all of us, including you know, your passion for music and guitars and banjos and some of the things you shared with me of your passion, you know, you got your start in music, and you love it, and you love telling folkways and telling the story and the history of music. You know, this is what's led me, is the railroad heritage, and I'm looking forward to continuing and preserving, and looking forward to see the Buffalo Creek and Gully Number 4 running down the track one day.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, you know, as I said, it gets in your blood, and I didn't believe that when I did my first couple years. I'm like, you know, these things are hard to film on, and they're dirty. And, you know, I always had to come back and clean my camera up and wipe all my cables down. But now it has gotten in my blood, and I'm proud to be a part of this industry.
You know, you're talking about the music. The two really intersect, trains and music. Doc Watson told me one time that, you know, mountain people back in the mountains never heard anything rhythmic except a horse clomping. That was about it, unless they made the rhythm on an instrument. Or they heard a horse walking. They never heard anything rhythmic. And then the trains came in. And so, you know, the harmonica is a good sort of illustration of how that works. The harmonica was meant to be played like, sort of like this. So that's what it was invented to play like. But, you know, African American folks heard this train, and they first thing they figured out to do was to go and make that train sound, and then they realized they could make the rhythm of the train. And that sort of changed the music right there. That kind of rhythm from the trains changed the mountain music.
And I'll tell you though, you know, we filmed a lot of music in our shows. You know, I remember the Rio Grande filming Michael Martin Murphey.
Yeah.
And I had more fun filming him on the train in a very tight quarter in the back of the train. He had more fun doing it than being out in the audience. I mean, you know, on a big stage. And I thought that was fun. And then, you know, you even played on some trains for us in the show. You with
well, on that one particularly.
Yeah, on that one as well. Yeah, and you know, music. It just, you're right. The rhythm. It goes with it. It's magical to me.
Now, do you plan to keep this on PBS?
You know, public television is always been important to me. Not only just from our train series, but I grew up with public television.
Sure.
You know, I don't know. So many people remember Zoom. You know, Zoom, and they came to my high school in Concord, Massachusetts, growing up. But one thing I love about public television is, one, we're commercial free. I mean, one thing I get a lot of comments is that we're happy that we get to watch the show all the way through without a bunch of commercials and starting and stopping, and I think people enjoy that. But, you know, public television is much bigger than that. You know, there's something for everyone on that network. From music, you know, you've got a great show. You know, you've done a lot of shows. From Folkways was your first.
Yeah, that went for, well, it's still on the air.
Still on, 30 years later.
30 years later.
You had hair. You know, I saw one of the early ones. You still had hair.
I had hair, and I was young. I was 30.
Yeah, I know.
I was 30. So the new show I have is David Holt's State of Music, and that's going national on PBS. So what do you see as the future of this series of Great Scenic Railway Journeys?
Well, I'm proud to say, you know, this is part of our anniversary special you and I are taping right now. This will be the last of the big specials, the big 2-hour specials. We're going to go back to our half-hour formats,
right,
and we're going to be putting out 26 half-hour episodes over the next 3 years. So people can come back and see all of this. We're going to be filming a lot of new trains. We're going to be over in Europe, covering, you know, there's over 500 tourist railways and railway museums in North America alone.
Wow.
You know, we've just touched the iceberg, tip of the iceberg on a lot of these trains. So there's a lot more going, but I want to get back, like you and your State of Music, I want to be back into the core programming, and that's what public television wants us to do.
So it'll be a weekly series.
Yeah, and we'll still be back in fundraising. I mean, the great thing about this is the stations are going to be able to grab the episode. So, you know, if you live here in North Carolina, we may be just showing trains around this region. It's going to give the a la carte system, as you call it. And, you know, a lot of people, everything's on demand now. So we want to make it to where you can watch the Durango and Silverton if you want to watch it anytime you want. You know, Great Smoky Mountain Railroad, you know, go up and Rocky Mountaineer was one of my favorite trips, you know, because you get to really relax. And I didn't have to clean the camera, you know, that Streamliner, that beautiful train. So, but yeah, it's been a rewarding 25 years. You've been working with me for a very good part of that, and I'm very proud that you've stuck out with this series, because, you know, you add such a great element with that music, and you know how to tell a great story. And you know, I get a lot of great comments when I'm on the road about you and your music and whatnot, and everybody's wondering, when are we going to do a concert? When is David going to do a concert for us? We're going to have to work on that.
Yeah,
you know?
we'll have to put that together. Rob, it's been great working with you for 25 years.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, well, we'll appreciate it, and we'll see you guys hopefully on our next Great Scenic Railway Journeys.